In this video, I'm going to show you how to record and also capture sections of data from your tracks in order to create new patterns. Now, you've already got some patterns. These are default patterns in the Kronos that are used for the drum tracks. So it's automatically, the Kronos is mapping those up to drum kits and it's playing those. But in sequence mode, you also have access to patterns as well, and you may have noticed this pattern/RPPR tab here at the bottom. Now, one thing before we get too in depth with this tutorial, I want to explain that patterns mean different things in different applications and also different workstations. In some cases, a pattern may be multiple tracks, a pattern may be a sample or something like that. In the Kronos, it actually means a section of notes that are played through on an individual track. So you have to make sure that the pattern is playing through one of the tracks in your sequence. You want that sound to be mapped up properly. And this is a good note too to kind of keep in mind, because there may be some cases where your pattern just doesn't sound right, or it's playing through a different instrument. It might be a drum pattern and it's playing through a piano on track one and you don't realize what's going on. Just keep in mind that it does have to be assigned to play through the correct track, which has your correct program or drum kit or sound placed on that. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to show you first how to capture a section of notes from your song in order to create a pattern that can be used and rearranged in your song. So this might be an easier way for you to record, is if you use patterns, or if you're used to using patterns. It's also easier to kind of move patterns around because they're entire chunks of data. You don't really have to keep up with the measures as much, and on screen on the track edit, rather than being individual blocks, it's going to be, in some cases, multiple blocks. It's going to be an entire section that you'll see there. So I've got this preview of the song played in there. Let me undo this solo. And what I'd like to do is copy over a section of the drums. And the drums I'm talking about, they're actually on, let's go up here to MIDI track 4. And you can see here it says deep ambi kit, some type of drums. Let's go ahead and solo this and then preview it. So it's that tribal type of drum section. What I'd like to do is just copy that into a pattern to use this. And I think I'd like to go out for maybe, let's see how long it goes out, maybe 4 measures. Yeah, it switches up the double bass in the 4th measure, so it's actually it's a 4-measure pattern. So I want to be able to copy that into a new pattern. Let's click on the pattern/RPPR tab at the bottom. And whenever you go to this page, you're going to be pulling in, or you're going to be default to your first empty pattern here, which is U00. And if you want to, you may see this tab first too, the pattern edit tab, rather than the pattern name tab. So you could select other patterns from here. They're all empty. Let's go to the first one, U00. And before we copy those notes from track 4, I think what I'd like to do is change and determine the length of the pattern. By default, I believe it's 2 measures. Click on pattern parameter. By default, it may be 2 measures. Just make sure and set that to be 4 measures so we can copy that entire 4-measure phrase from track 4. So click OK there. Now we're going to use the command again and use the get from MIDI track command. And we're going to dial in our appropriate song, which is 000. Do have to designate that we want to capture it from track 4, and we want it to start capturing or start getting that data from measure 1. Now, because the pattern parameter is set to be 4 measures long, it's going to capture measures 1 through 4. So we can click OK here. And now that we've done that operation, we can actually press the start button on the transport controls and actually play this particular pattern. Now at this point too, I want to point out that this pattern is designated to play through MIDI track 4. If we set this to play through MIDI track 1, it's going to be playing those same notes, only it's going to be playing through that piano sound or that lead sound. You can see that's not what we want, so make sure you pay attention to that parameter. Okay, so now that we have this captured in here, I want to give it a little bit more meaningful name. It's set to a default pattern name, which is pattern 00. Click on the pattern name tab, and from here we can call this, we'll call this drums or tribal drums. There we go, and click OK. Now anytime if we save our sequence now, or we save our song now, this pattern name and also the selected notes and everything that's associated in this whole pattern tab is going to be saved along with your song. So at this point, or at any point that you're editing the patterns, you might want to do that. Now I want to show you another way to create patterns as well. You can create these by recording directly into a pattern. Let's go back to the pattern edit. And this time I want to select the next empty pattern, which is pattern 01. And we're going to leave this on MIDI track 4. All I want to do here is I just want to create a new section of drums into an empty pattern. I just want to do something simple like that. So again, we're going to set up the pattern parameter. And this time I'm just going to let the length be 2. That's fine. I'm not going to create a 4-measure pattern. I'm just going to create a 2-measure pattern. Press OK. And from here also all the transport controls are the same. We're going to press record right to go into standby, and then press stop start when we're ready to start recording with a 2-measure count in. And we can stop that when we're done. Now we can just listen to this, preview it. So we'll just call this one, let's go in here, we'll call this one, let's just call this 4 beat. And click OK. So now at this point we can actually use this, or use these 2 patterns in the song with pattern arranging. And I'll show you how to do that in the next video.